One day, we found ourselves on the outskirts of a small town, stopping briefly for food before embarking on a 2-mile journey to an abandoned hospital. It was around 1 a.m., and the city lay in a quiet slumber as we approached the eerie structure, which had been left deserted for years. In hindsight, our naivety was astonishing. We cautiously bypassed the fence surrounding the hospital and slipped inside, discovering boarded-up doors and windows. Fortunately, one window had a missing board, allowing us to gain entry. As we entered, a loud thud echoed through the hallways, followed by a haunting silence. The decaying walls emitted a musty odor, making it hard to breathe. We stuck together, never straying far from each other, driven by an unshakable feeling that secrets lay within these walls. The hospital's vast interior held countless rooms and hallways. My friend Alex and I inadvertently separated from the others, and it took a while for us to realize our predicament. We retraced our steps, but found every corridor and room to be identical. Calling out for our friends proved futile as their voices echoed through the labyrinthine structure. We followed the direction we believed their voices came from, hoping they'd find their way back, for we were hopelessly lost. While exploring a few rooms, I noticed a faint light under a closed door. Pressing my ear to it, I heard nothing. Opening the door cautiously, I discovered a dimly lit room filled with debris, like someone had been living there. In the room's corner, a man stood in the darkness, pointing a gun at me. His appearance was repulsive, his eyes vacant. Backing away with my hands raised, I was interrupted by Alex's arrival, unaware of the situation. At the sight of the man, he fled, and I followed. A gunshot pierced the silence as we raced through the hallways. By chance, we stumbled upon our friends who had heard the gunshots. We urgently explained the need to leave and followed them to the broken window, making our escape. While physically unharmed, the experience left Alex and me traumatized. We swore off exploring isolated and abandoned places, recognizing that such locations might conceal individuals willing to protect what they perceived as their territory without hesitation. I was on my way back from a family gathering in a distant state, and for the first night, I booked a hotel with plans to complete the drive the next day. However, the journey had its share of delays, with the main highway blocked for construction, leading to confusion and exhaustion. As night fell, frustrated and tired, I spotted a sign for a motel 20 miles ahead and decided to stop there, intending to continue my journey the following day. Upon arrival, I noticed only one other car in the parking lot, presumably belonging to the motel staff. After securing a room key from an elderly lady at the front counter, I located my room in a single-story building with around 10 to 15 rooms. The room matched my expectations, outdated and somewhat unsanitary, typical of remote locations. Choosing to leave everything in my car, I planned to get some sleep before hitting the road again. However, strange occurrences next door caught my attention. Doors closing, footsteps, and an unsettling feeling of someone just standing against a wall. Despite turning off the lights and attempting to sleep, I was disturbed by a knock on my door. Feeling unsettled, I cautiously opened the door, but found no one outside. Perplexed, I stepped outside, observing an empty parking lot and rows of doors. Confusion deepened as I heard movement and what seemed like packing in the neighboring room. Trying to ignore it, I lay back down, but couldn't shake off the unease. After about 30 minutes, another knock at the door revealed a woman with bloodshot eyes, claiming she needed help in her room. Suspicious, I inquired about the issue, but she only pointed to the adjacent door. Uncomfortable, I stepped out, and an eerie silence fell between us. Opting to return to my room without saying a word, I heard her attempting to persuade me again before finally retreating. Soon after, I overheard 2 men arguing with the woman in the same room. Unseen, they clashed for a minute before making a swift exit. Upon calling the police, I learned from the motel staff that no one else had checked in for the night, indicating that the individuals likely broke into the room as part of a trap. Reflecting on the incident, I realize how close I came to a potentially dire situation, grateful for escaping unharmed. As a food delivery driver on weekends, using DoorDash to earn extra cash and keep myself occupied during a relatively uneventful period in my life. The routine involves driving to the restaurant, picking up the food, making the delivery, and repeating the process. One Saturday night, I decided to start my shift around 7 after having dinner. The orders were slow, only coming in at a rate of 1 or 2 per hour. During downtime, I would relax in my car, listening to music. About an hour into my shift, I received an order from a fast food place requiring delivery to a drop-in location in a small park, not an actual address. I was familiar with the park as it was a spot where local high schoolers often hung out late at night, presumably a group looking for a midnight snack. As I drove towards the park, the customer called to confirm if I had the right location. I assured him, asking if he wanted to meet in the parking lot. After a brief pause, he agreed and hung up. It seemed a bit odd, but I didn't dwell on it. Upon reaching the small parking lot by the park, it appeared completely empty. No cars, no people. Despite the park being down a short path, I expected to see some activity. I texted the customer, informing him that I was waiting in the parking lot. His response suggested he would meet me halfway down the path, contradicting his earlier statement about meeting in the parking lot. Feeling cautious, I left my wallet in the car before grabbing the food and locking out. Walking towards the park's entrance, I noticed someone heading my way. I gave a friendly wave, identifying myself as the delivery driver, but the person continued walking without acknowledgement. This triggered my unease, prompting me to check behind me, where I spotted another person heading towards my parked car. Observing their direct approach, I grew suspicious. When the person down the path realized I was onto them, they started sprinting towards me. I ran back to my car, yelling at the person attempting to open the doors. Surprisingly, he called for his friend's help, but they didn't flee. I tossed the food, confronted the person, likely a young high school or college student, and managed to subdue him. The individual from the path, however, continued running towards me, signaling a potential confrontation. The person on the ground got up and fled, and as soon as the other realized, he ran away too. My adrenaline surged as I got back in my car and quickly drove away. Although I called the police, nothing came of it. I'm grateful that the situation didn't escalate into a full-on fight, prompting me to be more cautious and avoid accepting orders with unclear or unsafe addresses.